So let's make a formal introduction for our listener. Good afternoon, J. Peter. My name is Claudio, and I'm calling you from Washington, D.C., from the studios in Fairfax City. We're very humble and grateful that Peter accepted our invitation to our show. Hey, Peter, welcome to the show, man.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing very well. So let's go for the what's going on in the world with the pandemic and the COVID. And some people want to take the vaccine, some people don't believe on it. Some countries are behind. You know, the COVID has affected everybody's life, right? So how the stuff has affected your life, your personal life, your inability to do gigs, to tour. You're at home. Feel free to
Yeah,
elaborate on the question.
I must say, fortunately, my life doesn't, my income as a composer or musician doesn't come from live concerts. So many, so I do a few concerts, and only do them if the musicians get paid well and if this is a good, if it is a good location. So I don't depend so much on concerts, fortunately. I last year and this year I spent most of the time in the studio and producing one record after the other at the moment. In Germany we also had every artist gets funding for projects, so we kind of, many of the creative musicians, composers didn't lose so many of money as opposed to other countries, obviously. So we're kind of in an okay situation here. And but what it makes to every single person, the whole COVID issue, that's another story, because I have lots of kids, and I had to learn things they learn in the school, So I really had to change my lifestyle and take care of the kids a couple of days more a week, but I liked it as well, So for me, the change wasn't so surprising, because as an artist, your life's always like this, things changing, a record company comes up and wants your music, another record company goes, and it's always a big change in this art and music world. It doesn't depend so much on COVID, that's my personal experience. It's different for live musicians, because they just didn't get any concerts, but the government put out a couple of billions to support the musicians,
I got you. That's great. Let's go back to the beginning. Where were you born? Were you born in a musical family? When did you start taking, piano lesson or listening to music? How was your upbringing?
My background with music is very small, because nobody played an instrument, but my mother wanted to start making music or arts, but nobody did this before in the family. So she bought a piano, and I wanted to play drums, so I started with drums and the piano and the guitar and everything a little, but I didn't. So from the beginning, I started making music and composing and putting sounds together, and that was really since I'm 13, I think. In the 80s, in the middle of the 80s, I started making electronic music with what I had. 2 tape recorders where I could record sounds from the other recorder and make a stereo signal from it, and 1 synthesizer. And late 80s, I bought a sampler, so that's how it built up the whole thing. But everything happened in Frankfurt, and Frankfurt was very focused on techno music, and that wasn't I wasn't. So there was no big scene in Frankfurt with musicians who do the similar music than I do.
So when you were in the equivalent of high school here, the gymnasium in Germany, what kind of music were you listening when you were, I don't know, 14, 15, 16 years old? What kind of stuff?
Sorry, I forgot his name, but it's the drummer. What is
For which band? I may know.
No, it was Billy Cobham.
Oh, yeah.
Cobham, the drummer, and
yeah.
a friend of mine gave me all this music on tape, and I was listening to radio stations. So classical music was interesting for me. My parents listened to classical music. My mom is a big Johann Sebastian Bach fan, and this was inspiring for me. But it started really step by step. So I didn't study it for 5 years. You know, I went to a music school for 4 years as a drummer, but I just didn't want to just play the drum my whole life. So I really just listen to music and try to learn by myself most of the stuff.
You knew, for example, who Tangerine Dream was at the time, or was?
No, Tangerine Dream not. I don't know why, but just didn't occur that I really that somebody played me Tangerine Dream. I heard about them in the 90s, you know.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of music that I missed, you know, and somehow, for example, Radiohead, you know, I listened to Radiohead the first time when I met Brian Eno, you know, and he told me about Radiohead. You know? So the thing is that I don't listen to music so much, you know. I prefer to create music, you know, and when I come out of the studio, I don't listen to music, you know.
Really?
So at home, never, really never, and I miss so many good things, you know, because my brain is still working on these ideas. Even when I come back home, my daughter wants to listen to music, and then I show her some stuff, and she likes to sing. She's 5 years old, and yeah, I prefer to sit in my studio and listen to the ideas in my here in my head. You know, that's because I have so many. Sounds a bit silly maybe, but I have so many ideas that I want to turn into music. You know, it's not always musical ideas. It's sometimes my music. With my music, I want to reflect situations or issues, like with my last record, Neuzeit. You know, what happens if a whole system crashes and then it restarts? You know, this kind of what happens to every single person. You know, is if we have downs and ups and downs and ups and I find this interesting, and then I get ideas, I get melodies, I get a rhythm when I think about these things. So it's quite personal, political, but without words, which is the next step, by the way. My next record will have words and singers.
Yeah, and then you start, so you see what's going on in the world with political issues, pandemic issue, whatever, and then you kind of write it down. Man, I have an idea about earthquake, or you in your head when you're thinking about an earthquake, for example, you begin playing piano and putting different pieces together without knowing where you're going, and then a couple of weeks you say, this could work for this could work for that.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. So sometimes you're fishing in the water. You know, you try things out and you try to find out if this music example is good enough for this idea. You know, so at the end I have 30 pieces of music, but only 8 survive this project. And yeah, it's more. It's not that I want to tell people, look, listen to what my music is telling you, political or something. It's more a drive for me, you know. It's so I have good starting point. Thinking of a situation gives me. It's like with music for films, you know. It's the same thing in a way. You develop something that is driven by a story somehow.
And then the end the music, you say I would compose 30 and I end up using 8. The other 22 you leave it in the background for another project down the road, right? You don't delete the stuff, right? I suppose that you can recycle the stuff that you did maybe 5 years ago that you never use it, you never release it, into something a different project or similar project or
yes
different arrangement. Yeah.
Yes, that's sometimes the case. I prefer to create new music always, but sometimes you listen to a piece that's 5 years old and think, well, that's exactly what I'm trying at the moment to do, you know. Yeah, it's really, sometimes it fits and sometimes it doesn't. But for the last record, for example, everything was really composed in, I would say, three months, and then produced. And then I invited Ave Henriksen, the trumpet player, and so this was one corner where I stood for a couple of months. You know.
Usually, how long does it take, like on average, end to end, right, for an idea until you have the CD or the upload the band, like a year?
Yeah, it's more a year than less. It's always some people say, oh, when you spend too much time, the music gets worse. That's not in my case. I don't feel it like that. I really always have the feeling it's not finished yet, and there's something still missing. And when I listen back to my music, like the last 2-3 records, I wouldn't change a thing. But it took a long time to get to this point where I say, this is finished now. And so I'm quite, because I'm arranging a lot as well for other people. It's not always about the composing. It's about building up a piece, going down and getting to a higher point. And this takes 7-8 minutes. And the arrangement takes more time than composing the music. No. And
because I assume that things, you know, you guys cannot see one another from the other people that contribute. You need to send stuff to them, they need to send stuff to you, need to rearrange, meet, change, go back, change, go back, or I need another guitar here, or a trumpet, or somebody from Norway worked before, and so it's your portion may be ready, but you need other people ideas to make it cohesive and
yes, it's not many musicians are so. I mean, for example, Ivan Arset from Norway. He's really, for me. So when I almost finish a piece of music, then I think now I need someone who's flying on top over the piece of music and he's doing his stuff as a soloist and as well as a sound designer. You know, he's both. He's a great guitar player and a sound designer. And we worked together since 2005, I think. So for 15 years, we had concerts, and so when I ask him to do something, I don't tell him, "Oh, I wish you could do this now or this now." I just send him the music, and he's sending me 7, 8 tracks with ideas back, and then I'm allowed to edit it and or delete things or double it, and that's such a great fun. That's the surprising moment for me then in the studio, when people send me their ideas after I almost finished a piece of music, and then gets a new dynamic, you know,
a new perspective, right? That you can say, man, I cannot use that, but maybe I can use that in whatever, you know, to a
yes,
different project, and you say, man, that's a great idea, you know. So you
yes,
never kind of, you don't tell people, you send your stuff, and it's up to the other person to listen to your stuff and say, oh, I think for this, for the track 1 we can use this, for track 2 we and then it go back and forth, and
yes,
that's yeah, because now you guys can, you know, cannot see one another, obviously, with the pandemic.
yeah, yeah.
That's the only way to work, I suppose, right?
Yes, but I must say it was like this before already. You know, I didn't travel to Norway, for example, to record Ivan. You know, I did this once, but that was 2010, so 11 years ago. And then we met at the Punkt Festival, but we didn't work together. We just talked about projects or music, and so this started before the pandemic. You know.
I got you. So, all right. So early in your career, you founded I think it's called the label Poet Club Record, right? And then that's the first time you began shortly after collaborating with Brian Eno, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Feel free to elaborate. All my questions are open-ended. You know, for me, Jan, my interviews are different in the sense that I want to get to know the person behind the music, right? So we can go over all the records and say this record is great, this record is terrible, whatever. But for me, it's important to, you know,
Yes.
get to know the human being behind the instrument or the keyboard or the band. So
Yes.
how
Yes.
was so you put that record? What kind of music was at the record label, and then how Brian Eno ended up, you know, contacting you and began working together?
Yes. Yes. That's it was a very surprising moment, because I started I made my own record label with an investor, and I had people working for that label. This was 1998, I think I started the label. And because some guy from Frankfurt, Peter Kuhlmann is his name, he had a label called Fax, like the fax machine. And unfortunately, he died a couple of years ago, very young, but he was very important for the Frankfurt electronic music scene. And anyway, he told me, if you make music that nobody will release because it's not in one how we say in one direction, you know, jazz, electronic, or this and that, then make your own label. You know, that's how it started. And 3 months later, after my first release, I got this message from Brian Eno that he would be interested to work with me. And that was this just happened because I have produced a CD of my own music, and I started doing this label. So if I wouldn't have done this, things would have been different probably. I don't know, you know. And so and it was a great time. So we were working until for my feeling, I would say we met like once a month for a couple of days and did jam sessions, talks, sometimes we were just eating, drinking. We did concerts together, and was a very exciting time. Was really, and for me, it was like from 0 to 100, within 4 months in a way, So for me, everything was new, and I was very young. I was 27, I think, when I met him, and he was 50 or 51. So it was very exciting, I must say, and I'm happy that we became real friends, and so it didn't, because he's a really funny guy, and
yeah, I love his music, and I have a lot of CDs from him and vinyl too, and I never have the opportunity to see him. Actually, never met him, but and playing and seeing him live, But I love his music. He's very good, man.
Yeah, he's. I mean, he invented a whole genre,
Of course, yeah.
And this is, it's history, and he's still doing great stuff. So he's just, yeah, amazing, And I said, for me, it's always good in a working relationship that you like each other,
Yeah.
It's no stress, and that you can spend a day together to do something privately. If the time in the studio is not so productive, so that's very important, So I can't work with people that I don't like, in a way, It's not
Wouldn't
just
work, right? Yeah.
It's one of my idols, Miles Davis must have been a horrible guy, when you read this, very eccentric, very narcissistic. And if I would have the chance to make music with Miles Davis, probably I wouldn't enjoy it. I don't know what I mean? So it's two things coming together, the private and the professional parts. They meld into one thing, and then it's good time.
Yeah, because otherwise it will be very difficult to do. Yeah, hopefully I will have the opportunity to interview Brian here one day from the radio. I would love to do that. And
yes, I don't know how he decides about this, and but I can I can give you the manager's
yeah.
number.
We can, especially for this is my interview number 79, I think, or 78, 79. And then for interview number 100, I want to do something special.
Okay.
Like a Brian Eno type of guy, or Jean-Michel Jarre, or or David Sylvian, or whatever, a big name. And your music reminds me a lot of a musician that I like a lot, Ryuichi Sakamoto from Japan. I don't know if you know him, but have you ever worked with him, or could?
He used a part of a record that I did, and they asked if they can use this for a soundtrack he made. I don't know if I have this here. It was 2004, I think, and but we never met. So it was just that he used some sounds for his film music, and and got some publishing for it. Was very fair deal what they did, and his management, really nice people. But in the 2000s, what I liked was this project with this guy from Berlin. What's his name? I forgot. They do concerts. Sakamoto and him. And they did a lot of concerts and CDs in the 2000s, and this music I like very much. And it was inspiring as well, but it happened at the same time. So I don't know his music before 2000, for example. It's kind of
I'm a big fan of David Sylvian, right? In the UK, and the two of them, Sakamoto and Sylvian, have contributed and played from Japan and all the other, all for many years now. And then I have great admiration for Sakamoto. So when I was listening to your stuff last night, I was preparing to the interview. I remember a lot of Sakamoto. It's very different music. I like it for, as I said before, I like some stuff or I don't, right? So I don't know. For plus, your music remind me a lot of like going deep psychologically within yourself, right? Or the end of the world, if you will, in many ways. It brings different memories to me as opposed to when I listen to
Yeah.
Tangerine Dream, for example. It's very different, right? Or Brian
Yeah.
Eno
Okay.
stuff. It brings a lot of different emotion within you because I I need to listen. I really need to listen to it. I put my headphone, a expensive headphone, and the stereo, and I really want to see what the musician was thinking or expressing to me when I'm listening to stuff.
Yes. Yes.
Beautiful, it's a beautiful thing, and uh,
Mhm.
and uh, and then after that you were involved in the Artists Against AIDS Worldwide, right? I think
Sorry.
you were after early in your career also you were involved with the Artists Against AIDS
Ah.
Worldwide, right?
Okay. Uh, yes, but just was one track. Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
we it was with Bono and part of U2, and I think it's Metropolitan Studio. It's a really big studio in London,
London.
and Brian was asked to mix it and produce it,
Wow. Yeah.
and then he said, "Would you join me with some ideas?" And so I came to this studio, uh, and then he said, I need to pick up my kids. Can you take over?" And he went. And it was good. I think he did this on purpose, just to give me this project in a way. There was a sound technique. Everything was already recorded. It was more about editing and playing some extra percussion and stuff. And but it was it was an interesting project. But I was in the supermarket once, and they played this version in Spain. I think when I lived in Barcelona.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe he did it on purpose. In a way, the only way to I'm an engineer, right? So I had nothing to do with music. I just so happen to like music a lot. The only way sometime in life is to evolve if someone put you in a situation, in here United States would say run with it, give me ideas, you're the in charge now for a day or an hour,
Yeah.
and then you say, what the heck, what I'm doing here? Well,
Well, I like doing this last phase, and with the record we did, Drawn from Life, I did all the editing. I made the decisions about what material will be used and how long, and what tracks will end up on the records. So I kind of produced it, and it was fun, I must say, because he really let me take over in a way, and finish it.
Gotcha. How'd you end up meeting Ivan Arsenet? He's going to be in the show in a couple of days from now, in a week, this weekend, I think.
Okay.
How you end up working with him? It's a lot of great music coming out of Norway, actually.
Yeah, amazing. I'm so happy that I was invited for a project, and somebody invited me to go to Norwegian music festival called Punkt Festival. It's called Punkt Festival, and this is where I met him the first time.
Yeah.
And we did a preparation for one piece of music of mine for this festival, and that's how our working relationship started. And so whenever I did something, I invited him to take over the guitar part, and we played in Naples. We played in many. We did a couple of concerts, and yes, he's just amazing. That's the thing that I can say. He's really. That's how we met. Yeah.
Got you. And then after that, you end up. I think in 2016, you did release your first Rare Noise album, right? The Beauty of Disaster.
Yes.
And I really like that album, to tell you the truth, man. And
Thanks.
feel free to elaborate how that album came together and the idea. I know the idea behind, but the audience, the listener may not know. So feel free to elaborate how that came together.
Yeah. This I haven't done any releases in the years before, because I was doing music for movies, for little movies, and for ballet, and for theater. And when somebody said, "Oh, go to Rare Noise Records, they might be interested in your music." So I sent it to Giacomo Reuter, and I'm very happy. That was the first label I approached, and they immediately wanted to release it, and it was for me a good start back into releasing music on records. Because as I said, you can release your music digitally, but you don't have any promotion. So, and promotion costs money. So where's the money coming from? So businessman and a guy who is really into music. So Giacomo Fruzzo is really, he loves music, and he's really passionate about it. And so for me, because Rare Noise is a good name for a record label, I think, it's because I felt automatically like, yeah, my music is Rare Noise as well, so was the label that I first approached, and I'm still there, and think we're doing much more together. Yeah.
Do you prefer, as an artist, you prefer to kind of, on one hand, if you do self-release, right, you need to put all the money up front, you don't have any advertising, and you make more money. On the other hand, right, if you go to a record label, they do everything for you, but they take a bigger cut of the profit and so forth. What is a good trade-off to do, either self-release or go to a record label?
Well, the best deal is when the record company takes care of everything as a first step, and pays for everything, and gives a little advance money for everything, and then they sell it. They sell, and then to the point where they recouped the money,
the investment, right?
Yes, then we make 50-50.
Oh,
so,
I see. Yeah.
That's it's the best contract you can have, actually. So. And they take all the risks. They have two promoters, one for America, one for Europe, and that costs money. It's
absolutely, yeah.
It's amazing how that this is still working. And
yeah.
Yes.
And then when you do that path, they, even in Bandcamp, right? When somebody go to Bandcamp and buy something, a digital or a CD or a vinyl, they send the stuff. You don't send it for your home, right? Yeah, they do the shipping, and right.
Yes, exactly. Rare Noise takes care of my page as well.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty good that people can.
Yes, I did all this business stuff with my own label, but I had this label just for only 3 or 4 years, and I realized that I'm on the phone for 4 days a week, and then I have 3 days where I make music. And then I thought, no, that wasn't the idea. I want to make music, and I'm definitely not a good businessman, and I'm absolutely not interested in business. You know, I just want to make my music, or other projects. You know, like radio plays. I do a lot here in Frankfurt, which is fun. So my next radio play will deal with the issue of numbers, and the title is "Numbers Become Stories." And I already used this title for one piece on the beauty of disaster, but I still want to make a whole radio play about this issue, that numbers become stories. So we see with the COVID, we see all these numbers, but we don't know the stories behind the numbers. So, and I want to put this into music and words, and I don't know how yet.
Because you're thinking of,
yeah, exactly. But this is fun for me. It's this kind of work I really like, but I don't want to. But there is. It can be full of pitch, you know, if I don't make it right. You know, if I tell about families, unhappy families, you know, who suffered from this COVID issue, how do you put this into music, and what kind of lyrics you use without making it cheesy, you know, in a way. So it has to be in my direction. It has to be dark, but not too explainable. It's that you say this is the right thing, this is the wrong thing. So it's this kind of work I really enjoy, you know, to finding the balance.
You mentioned before, and I know you have done stuff from ballet and theater, some soundtracks. You like doing that when someone hire you to do a movie or a ballet or theater that has already done, versus you when you start, they commission you to do, and you are restricted in according to the movie and according to the theater, but on your own, right? You can do whatever you want. Nobody tell you. You have an idea in your head and you work on
Yes.
it's good to do both. I mean, when you are limited.
That definitely. So having a theme, you know, and a clear frame always helps to not to jump out of this frame every day. So because otherwise it would absorb so much time, you know. For me, it's good to write music for other people sometimes, you know. But the people who ask me, can you make music for this or that, they know what I can best, so they want me for what I do. So for me it's not a big change, you know. Yeah. Of course I have to make compromises, that's normal, you know, that's normal. But I have the biggest fun, and when I just work on my music, I'm just honest, you know.
They already know your type of music, right? So yes, they wouldn't expect something different, right? For that.
Yeah. If they would play me typical film music, you know, then I would say there are other people who can do this better, you know. So you don't have to ask me, you know. But sounds a bit arrogant, but it is. There are some people who can do everything, you know. They make advertising, they make music for films, they make this, and but sometimes you don't hear what is their strengths, and but that's okay as well, you know. If they do this job, and if they're capable of doing anything they've been asked for, that's absolutely okay, you know. But I'm probably not so flexible, you know.
Yeah.
I'm on constant search mode, you know, for I want to get, I don't want to